What is the Dell XPS 27 All-in-One? I've seen many companies try to take on the Apple iMac before, but they've largely been PC copies of the same design, rather than something fresh. It's good, then, to see Dell do something different for its XPS 27 All-in-One, crafting a PC that's designed to play to Windows' strengths while adding some unique hardware touches. Dell XPS 27 All-in-One. Design and build. With its 27-inch display, the XPS 27 is rather an imposing all-in-one measuring 435 by 625 by 80 mm. Like the iMac, it has a large chin at the bottom, although, in this case, it isn't just dead space but houses 6 speakers in the glossy black frame. The result is a computer that looks refreshingly different to the competition and fantastic in its own right. Certainly, this is an all-in-one that's been built to garner attention, and I'd proudly have it sat on my desk. A common complaint with all-in-ones is that they often have inflexible stands, but this isn't the case with the XPS 27. Thanks to the adjustable hinge mechanism, you can move the screen anywhere between face-on to flat on the desk. Getting the screen lined up comfortably is easy, and the maneuverability makes the touchscreen much easier to use, as you don't have to lean awkwardly across a desk to prod at the screen. The minor downside is that the full metal stand, to cope with this movement, adds to the weight, with the touchscreen model of the XPS 27 weighing in at a hefty 17.3 kilograms. Still, it's unlikely that you'll be shifting the position of the machine much once it's in place. One of the main bugbears of the Trusted Reviews team is that the ports of all-in-ones are usually shoved at the rear, where they're hard to get to. Having to spin a computer around to plug in a USB drive is, frankly, annoying. Hats off to Dell, then, for building the XPS 27 with thick enough sides to include a USB 3.0 port, a 3.5mm audio jack and an SD card reader. At the rear, you'll find the PC's other ports. They're located in a recess cut into the back of the case and hidden behind the stand's hinge. Given that the cutout is black, finding the ports is hard, and plugging anything in requires a great deal of manual dexterity and patience. There's a good choice of ports, including 4 USB 3.0 and 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, plus HDMI and DisplayPort 1.2 graphics outputs, Gigabit Ethernet, 802.11 acres Wi-Fi is built in, and a 3.5mm audio output. The kettle plug power connector is also here. It's a shame that there are no video inputs, which means you can't use the XPS 27's screen for external devices such as games consoles. Once again, it's frustrating that one of the USB ports has been taken up with a dongle for the keyboard and mouse. Quite why PC manufacturers can't just build the receiver into the PC itself is beyond me. Dell XPS 27 All-in-One, Screen. Given that you're stuck with the screen with which an all-in-one ships, the quality is of immense importance. For the XPS 27, Dell has used a 4K 3840 by 2160 IPS panel. Dell quotes 100% Adobe RGB color gamut coverage, promising that this display is a cut above the competition. Certainly, from a subjective point of view, it's a great-looking screen. It's bright, viewing angles are excellent, and colors pop and fizzle, giving you vibrancy while maintaining realism. Flicking through my test photos, I was pleased to see all of the detail. This is one display I'd be happy to look at all day. Objectively, I first measured the screen at maximum brightness, a respectable 386 nits, as able to produce 99.3% of the sRGB, 96.2% of the Adobe RGB and 90.7% of the DCI-P3 color gamuts. With a delta E score of 0.74, where a score that's closer to 0 means a perfectly accurate screen, it shows that the screen can display colors with a good degree of accuracy. Dropping brightness down to 120 nits and calibrating the display, I managed to improve coverage to 99.4% sRGB, 96.3% Adobe and 90.6% DCI-P3, dropping the delta E to 0.66. Dell also has its own color management software, Dell Premier Color, which lets you choose the color space you want to display. The default is Adobe RGB, and adjust the color temperature, contrast and brightness. This utility has a built-in calibration wizard that works with the X-Rite i1 Display Pro calibrator. Calibration takes only a few minutes, reconfiguring the screen to use the vibrant, full, color gamut. Retesting after this, I found improved color coverage of 100% sRGB, 99.8% Adobe RGB and 92.9% DCI-P3. Delta E increased slightly to 0.7. Contrast comes in at a decent 1148 to 1, putting the XPS in a similar position to other high-end all-in-ones that use IPS panels. Image quality certainly rivals that of the 21.5-inch iMac, although Apple's computer can go considerably brighter, up to 532 nits. Dell XPS 27 All-in-One, Performance. My review model shipped with an Intel Core i7-6700 CPU, 6th Gen Skylake, rather than the newer Kaby Lake, 7th Gen i7-7700. This isn't too much of an issue, since our benchmarks have shown that Intel's latest processors aren't a huge amount faster. In short, then, the XPS 27 is exceptionally fast. Thanks to hyper-threading, the i7-6700 has 4 real cores and 4 virtual, making for a total of 8 threads. Combined with the 16 GB of RAM, the XPS scored 14,754 in Geekbench 4's multi-core test and 4,163 in PC Market Home. Both are just about what I'd expect from this processor and show that it's certainly powerful enough for any job. This XPS model has a 512 GB PCI Express X4 SSD installed. Other models are available with a 1 TB hard disk, but I find mechanical storage hard to recommend now, since it's too slow and runs the risk of making a computer feel sluggish. Dell has used a quick SSD, and I measured read speeds of 1,797 MB per second and write speeds of 1,061 MB per second. Quicker SSDs exist, but at these speeds the XPS 27 was both exceptionally fast to boot and very responsive. Dell shipped me an XPS 27 with a Radeon R9 M70X. This chip is fairly middle of the road and certainly won't cope with 4K gaming. Playing at 1080p is possible, though. Testing with Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, I saw an average frame rate of 76.31 FPS with ultra-detail settings. Switching to the more demanding Rise of the Tomb Raider, frame rates dropped to 30.17 FPS using high-detail settings. Dialing down detail settings further would make for smoother gaming. Alternative options include a base-level PC with Intel HD graphics or a higher-end model with Radeon R9 M485X. When idle, the XPS 27 All-in-One is exceptionally quiet, and you'd struggle to hear its cooling fans. I'm sure this is in part due to the decent amount of space in the case, with the slightly bulbous chassis providing room for decent cooling. Fan speed picks up for more involving tasks, but the computer generally doesn't.